Guys doing today is, as the title says, artifact tier list update day. Yes, we're going to do it. It's been a while since we've done one of these, and honestly, I'm only going to discuss artifacts that are honestly used. So these are artifacts that are used in Call of Dragons on the open field that honestly make an impact on the game, right? And what we've done, instead of how we normally do things, we're going to come in and out, and I'm going to showcase straight away. Yes, this is going to be the tier list. We've got S, A, B, C, and D tiers. And what we're going to do is go through the explanation on why we've got certain artifacts in certain areas and why this is so important to know. Because the one thing I'm going to put right now as a disclaimer so you guys can understand a little bit of the thought process of why I've placed certain artifacts in S, A, and B tier is simple. We can replace damage-based artifacts really easily. Let's be honest. A damage-based artifact can be replaced really easy. You're going to get Season 1, you've got Phoenix Eye. Then you're going into the next season, you're getting Infernal Flame. Then going into the next season, we got the Mirage Orb. So damage is easily replaceable. One thing that's not easy to replace is utility and buffing style effects. Basically a defensive artifact, and you'll notice actually defensive based artifacts have been performing so much better than offensive based artifacts, especially in Season of Strife and in the last season in B2. So what we're going to do is go through all of them, right? All of these artifacts above me right here for you guys so you can have a good suggestion. And what we'll do, start quickly from the bottom and work our way up. And from working our way up, it'll set a clear status quo on why certain artifacts are better. So the first one, Springs of Silence. I actually just dislike this artifact. I think this artifact is not an infantry artifact. It could be a cavalry one. Why? It's AoE, it does a nice bit of damage, and it slows them down. But stat-wise, it grants you infantry attack. We don't care about attack. We honestly care about defense and HP and surviving as an infantry unit, right? So this D, just, I don't care. You might think it's a good one. Go drink some copium, go downstairs, get your glass of copium. It's all good. I'll wait for you to come back and we'll carry on with, your tier list. But moving on to the C tiers, you've got Oath of Stormpeak, the Heart Piercer, Magic Bomb, Cloak, and the Garrison-based artifact. I'm going to be honest, the Garrison-based artifact is just dog shit. It is just absolutely dog shit. You might want to put it just to get the Garrison-based stats, but as everyone has noticed, it's infinitely better if you're trying to garrison for infantry, for example, and you're running Goresh Skullgirl. Spiritbone Talk just infinitely does way better than the Garrison artifact. Same with, again, if you're going to use a cavalry-based garrison, a cavalry-based artifact is doing way better than the garrison-based artifact. It's just that bad. It's just, honestly, do you know what? Because it's that bad, and I've talked myself into it, just don't use it. Just don't use it. It's just terrible, right? But this other C tier artifacts that we've got on here are actually usable, and they're usable for free-to-play players and in situational. So that's kind of why I've put them. Cavalry players will like the new Oath of Stormpeak. I'm going to be honest, and level 1 and level 2 Oath of Stormpeak is nice. It's nice, but it's not OP. I'll be honest. So far, I'm happy to be proven wrong. But to me, Oath of Stormpeak isn't something that the Cav mains are going super, super wild on. There is other artifacts that they just rather run because it's straight up damage and just straight up execution. And that's kind of what the whole playstyle is for cavalry, right? And the other three artifacts though, the Cloak, really good for free-to-play players, for farmers, cavalry, again, to get in deep, kill the farm killing. And again, Heart Piercer, Magic Bomb, not too bad. Magic Bomb has a little bit more utility, it's gonna be honest. You can put Magic Bomb onto target legions, and if it's on them, they can't enter cities until that Magic Bomb is off. Really fun little kind of, buff on that artifact. And Heart Piercer just gives you a little bit of defense break. So it's kind of your only option if you don't have the Rattle Spear, and that's kind of why I've got it on here. Now moving to the B tier. And every artifact on here makes sense, I can guarantee you, apart from the gold crest. So let's talk about our good old friend, the gold crest, right? Because everyone is probably in shock and awe that I've put this on B tier. And I think once you understand my explanation and don't start, you know, screaming and typing that I'm an idiot, because most players like to do that, you'll understand why. Because I am looking at this as a long-term investment and comparing it to what we already have out here. So when we look at this skill, this is a single target damage of 2800. So the thing is, everything in this artifact, if you equip it to any archer, is only getting what you see on screen. If you equip it with Freygar, so Freygar is a primary or deputy within that legion, you're going to get the extra 900 damage plus the immobilization for 3 seconds, right? Now, this is where we're going to start running into some problems, because the first issue and why this is a B tier artifact is the Freygar restriction. Yes, if you got Syndrome on Freygar, you might be running this, but you'll notice maybe G4, G5, G6, there's going to be a better single target artifact to use than the Gold Crest. Let's be real, right? So you won't be using this. And then on top of that, when we look at just the base stuff here, and we compare this to one of my S tier artifacts like the Rattle Spear, it just loses every point to point. So this is a level 1 artifact, just to showcase this, and this is another level 1 artifact, right? And the thing is, our beautiful Rattle Spear here does 3 strikes of 1200. So this is already 3600 single target damage, or with the option of being 3600 AoE damage. You get to choose exactly where this direction is and what's getting targeted, which is kind of cool about this effect. And on top of that, you got a 20% march speed slow for 3 seconds. So you can already see here, we're doing an extra 600 damage factor compared to the Gold Crest, and we've got 5% extra march speed. Yes, this is for 10 seconds compared to this being for 3 seconds, but for each hit, you are applying the slow. So you're going 3, 6, 9. So that's the way it works, right? So it refreshes the timers. It's not a bad artifact. So Rattle Spear has way more versatility use compared to the Gold Crest. And the same is when you start to compare the Gold Crest with just vastly every other artifact. I do want to say this artifact is a B tier artifact. I'm sorry to say this, and I am an archer main, and the more I've been playing the game, the more I've been sadly realizing it, right? With every other artifact on the B tier, I think it makes sense here. The Phoenix Eye, Shadow Blade, Solan Blade, King's Blade, Fang of Ashikare, all of these are really good starter legendaries. That's kind of what I call them, the B-class legendaries. All of these are good to start with. You have these in the beginning season, you're going to earn level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as you progress. And the thing is, as long as these are level 5 or 4, I will admit they're going to do way better than any of the other artifacts on screen, unless the other artifacts are level 3, right? So if you've got a level 3 Gilded Crossbow, that will do better than a level 4 or 5 Shadow Blades. But if you've only got a level 1 or 2 Gilded Crossbow, it's not going to do nowhere near as better as a level 4 or 5 Shadow Blades. Just to give you a nice bit of an explanation there, right? So those artifacts are all the base ones. Again, kind of nice and explanatory. The Rally artifact actually is a lot better than the Garrison artifact, so I would recommend if you do have it, you might use it in Roots of War or just rallying people in general, because it is a good artifact to do that with. And then as well, the Wolf Womans of Halo. I'm going to put this in a B tier compared to every of the other cavalry artifacts, because the thing is with this artifact is it's really good, again, in and out of murder balls, right? It's designed to kind of blink into the murder ball, do the damage, get out with the wormhole trigger. However, I still see cavalry dying before the wormhole trigger happens sometimes, and at the same time, a lot of the cavalry players, really good cavalry players, don't run head-on into murder balls. That's not the go-to, right? The strat is to go behind enemy lines, get that break on them, right, and do that nasty stuff in the reinforcements. So I don't think it's a good artifact. I think it's a good baseline one, like everything else, but I don't think it's any better than any of the A or S tier artifacts we've got on this list, right? So now let's start actually bringing up some artifact hero screens, right? And break down these artifacts for you guys. So first one, Storm Arrows, right? So you're probably wondering, Storm Arrows, why is this an A tier artifact compared to everything else on screen for you guys, right? So the Storm Arrows here allows you, no matter what, because it's got no rage cost, it is going to give you the ability to get anywhere as a cavalry player. Compared to the wormhole effect, this is honestly allowing you to get in and out of tricky situations. And the only downside about the Storm Arrows is the fact that you are seen, right? So you have to channel. You're in a MrSneakyy. I'm sorry, guys, you do. And you need to sneak and blink over rivers. Keep doing it. Find the long path. But if you're able to do that, this artifact is so good. It allows you as well, if you want to use it offensively, you can, to try and kill someone. You can basically blink in front of them, block their, reinforcement or their path so they're intercepted. So good, so good. So definitely an A tier artifact for everyone when it comes to it. Moving on to the next one, we've got the Staff of Profit. Same thing as kind of we talked about earlier and stuff in these videos, right? This artifact provides one thing no other artifact provides, and it is the fact that you can teleport bomb so many legions into a location. And this staff has created an entire meta, right? The fact that you're able to teleport bomb behind enemy passes, stop those reinforcements, onto rallies, again, to stop reinforcements, onto flags to stop buildings. This artifact is a meta warper. What an amazing, honestly, time to be living as a Call of Dragons player, because this is so fun. Everyone will agree this is one of the most fun artifacts in the game. And the cool thing about the Staff of Profit in your murder ball, you just need to slap this onto your Indis March. You could run Indis Alloin and leave everyone else open to all the better mage artifacts. And these guys have got 50% extra HP. So you know they're going to take a bunch more damage and at least try and get some extra merit being a supportive march while all your other major marches are doing an absurd amount of damage, right? So really good artifacts. Love this one when it comes into things. Now moving to the tier of Arbonne, the good old tier of Arbonne. And the thing is, and this is the sad truth about the tier of Arbonne, he got nerfed. Originally, the tier of Arbonne had a 1200 healing factor. And as you guys know, it's been nerfed down to 800. It's been 800 for the longest of times. Only the OGs will remember the 1200 healing factor. And part of me wants it to be buffed up again, but at the same time, it doesn't need to, because it is the best, so far, the best defensive option for healing mass troops. No matter what march you are running, I'm going to be honest, no matter what march you're running, Lilia, Valen, Indis, Flyers, you name it, tier of Arbonne is just so powerful at giving you 62% defense, 5% damage reduction, and then the heal. The heal and all of that is just so much defensiveness. It gives your mages that open field longevity that they need to get the merits. So it's so good. Don't care what anyone says. This is so good. Until it gets replaced by a better AoE healing artifact, people are going to be using this. You got it from season 1. You can use it all the way through every season. That's why it's so good too. So definitely one of the best defensive artifacts you can have for the mages. Moving on, we got the Viola's Bow. This is one of my favorite ones, and I hope this might get a buff. The only buff this needs is the damage number. I'm going to be honest. It does do a nice bit of damage at maxed out, 3200 damage. Maybe it's obviously a little bit less than the Shadow Blades. It's understandable. But this is so good, again, for archers. People underestimate the Viola's Bow. And the thing is, the longer the game goes in Call of Dragons, the stronger and stronger Viola's Bow becomes. Why? Because this stops artifacts from being casted for 10 seconds. And people are using Viola's Bow completely wrong. Obviously, a lot of players, like you can see, have got it on auto cast. But what you need to do is turn it off. Turn auto cast off. Because what you need to do with the Virus Bow, charge it up, get it ready to use. And when you see those infantry players running in, you see anyone running in with anything, you know Frost Rings are going to come. You've got, you know, your Spiritborn Torques, you've got your Greymar Warhammers, all these different artifacts that you could potentially hit the stop for 10 seconds. And that 10 seconds is absolutely crucial because it stops them getting buffed, stops them from being surviving. And again, you got to think in the future, the amount of basically artifacts this is going to basically counter, really good artifact. And it gives you 50% HP. So, you know, no laughing matter. So you can see when we compare these A tiers to the B tiers, they're basically almost the same damage as them, but they're providing utility to your march more consistently without any restrictions, without any silliness like the, you know, Gold Crest was, or any of the, even the Fang of Ashikari, which requires people to stay in AoE to get the damage off, right? We don't want that. So now we've got the Infernal Flame. Infernal Flame, not a bad artifact at all. It's a pretty good one for mages. This is going to be your upgrade, as you can imagine. So if you've got Phoenix Eye, and then you unlock Infernal Flame, this is going to replace it for the simple fact it gives you Magic Keen. 15% extra attack is no laughing matter. On top of this, this is basically going to grant you extra merits towards your Legion because it's actually increasing your Legion damage. And then you've got this nice, you know, basically it's 3,300 or more single target damage you're dealing, which is kind of nice. And you apply Scorch onto the enemies, right, if you're doing this. So really cool effect for your Lilias. Imagine any future fire mage hero to have this on them because they're going to be needing it, so they deal damage. So this is kind of like I said, the upgrade, right? It does need a Scorch user, but not too bad compared to anything else where you need a specific hero, right? Moving back, we've got Breath of Gigantis. What an artifact. If I could have guns right now, just talk about this artifact, I would. It's such an insane artifact. No one is going to get this artifact or do what this artifact does any better. It gives you an insane amount of attack, which is good if you want to do damage for your Legion. But what's important is the defense break. This is only 16%. That's level 1. This increases, I think, all up to 25% or 30%. I could be wrong what the max is, but it is insane. The fact that you're doing a massive 10 Legion AoE defense break does change the game, guys. It honestly changes the game. It allows you to punch through those front lines, melt the back lines, and people use the Breath of Gigantis. Thank you, because you guys are honestly really good at the game and understand the difference of removing or debuffing enemy units, right? So definitely one of the top artifacts in the game right now, forever, basically. Now to finish off the A tier, we've got the Dragon Scale Armor, we've got Greymar's Warhammer, Spring Blades, and we've got Gilded Crossbow. So what I'll do is talk about 2 infantry artifacts, and then I'll move over to the cavalry and the archer artifact, so it makes sense to you guys all in one go on why we've got these 2 guys kind of where they are. So Dragon Scale Armor, this is an A tier artifact, definitely. It gives you over 50% worth of stats. Again, if you get this level 5, it's going to give you 7.5% extra damage reduction, which is even powerfuler. But what makes this such a good artifact is the 3,900 shield to 3 nearby, you know, legions. They gain 10% flat attack for 10 seconds. And then, as an additional effect now, your Legion gains ranged resistance when the wielder gains a shield through rage skills. So Madeline, Fear, and Eliana all trigger this through. So you're going to get a 15% range reduction, and this increases, right? So if we go up, you got an 18%, going to a 4,500 shield factor, because obviously I own artifacts, I can show you case that. And guys, when G4, G5, G6 again, heroes come. I can imagine there's going to be more infantry heroes in the future with shields, not just Madeline, right? So when they come, they're going to love this artifact again for them. This is a really powerful artifact. Do not sleep on it. Really powerful for defensiveness. Now, Greymar's Warhammer is pretty much the exact same, but it's a more offensive option. It's been buffed you've got a 4-second duration now on your stun, but that is it. It's a 4-second stun with 200 damage and 62% defense. You don't get any additional effects or anything like that, but I think that is enough. Honestly, this is basically the poor man's version of the S tier artifact Spiritborn Talk, right? So if you don't have a good Spiritborn Talk, but you do have a level 4, level 3, level 5 Grey Mars Warhammer, you're probably going to be using it because this is going to be dealing a nice amount of damage, right? 2400 damage going up to 3200 with a 5-second stun at max, 4 at all, 5 targets, should I say, at max rank, 4 at all other. Really good artifact. So this is kind of like your CCing utility effect. Again, for infantry players, they're going to be using this. You can combo a lot of stuff where you could stun 4 targets. Once they come out of the stun, you can then put a shield on, then taunt them as well, so the shield gets maximum value. You can do all sorts of stuff, as you can imagine, with these. So that just showcases there the 2 infantry, Dragon Scale and the Grey Mars Warhammer for you guys. And now finishing it off, we've got Spring Blades and the Gilded Crossbow. So Spring Blades is arguably the best DPS option for cavalry right now. Hands down. Don't care what you say. It does just unfair damage. You can kind of see what it's doing here. 3,000 and 750, 750, 750, 750, 750, 3,000. Like, it's insane the amount of damage it does. And the cool thing about this artifact is it comes back to your march. So if you go somewhere and there's like 5 marches in between you, it's going to pull and go through all 5 marches, dealing an absurd amount of damage, making this the #1 DPS option for cavalry. No brainer there. And now Gilded Crossbow. The newest artifact in the game, and it's a good offensive artifact. It's definitely better than Gold Crest. It's definitely better than Viola's Bow. It's definitely better than Shadow Blade. It is the best DPS option, I'm going to be honest. It gives you an insane amount of damage, 650 times 4, right? So that's over 20, what is that, 300 damage-ish. I could be around or off, right? 40% march speed, which is great when you've got it activated, so you can get in and out, guarantee the procs onto players. And then the additional effect, and this is what's really good, increases your legions enemy HP bypass up to 7% of your highest buff stack effect. If the effect persists until the end of battle. So this starts basically up and then it goes all up to 7%, right? Beautiful. Just beautiful. Negating the enemy HP, such a good thing for legions. It's going to allow them to do more damage. And again, AoE, massive AoE, march speed, has everything you want on it. Comparing it now to the Gold Crest, you can kind of see why we don't like it, right? It's just not good, guys. It's not good. I'm sorry. So, Gilded Crossbow, if you really want to invest into it, I wouldn't be mad. You could go for this. It's a really good artifact in the Season of Strife when you unlock it. I can imagine in the future it's going to get better and better. But again, you've got to remember, damage-based artifacts could be replaced. So that's kind of the sad truth when it comes to the tier list, right? So coming out to the final ones. S tier. We have the Spiritborn Talk. We've got the only, well, I say the only one, but it isn't. We've got 2 infantry artifacts. Spiritborn Talk, Frost Ring. We've got 2 mage artifacts. We've got Mirage Orb and the Visage of Sanctus. And then we've got 2 artifacts again from Archers, Heart of Camacy and the Rattle Spear. And the reason why all of these are S tier, from my personal opinion, is they're perfectly flexible, apart from, you might say, the Goresh Skullgirl only Spiritborn Talk. That's for now. Who knows? G3 might have super counterattack damage, and you might want it on them too. Again, it just showcases how good these artifacts could be when you think about it. But all of these artifacts are flexible. They all do really good unique effects, and they're defensive as well as offensive for your march, right? So this is why I think these are the best artifacts in the game. Season of Strife, Season 1, Season T1, B2, you name it, right? And all the way through, who would have thought an epic artifact would be in the S tier? Not many people, but the one sad reality with this game, and I've said this so many times, and people don't value it. 10 seconds of being suspended is insane. Immune to all damage, you cannot move, you cannot launch normal attacks, counterattacks, or rage skills, but you can cast, obviously, artifact skills. Doesn't matter because you're obviously in this, right? This is just crazy. After the suspension ends, up to 10 surrounding enemy legions. I don't think people realize there's a second part to this actual thing. They are having a 30% march speed reduction for 8 seconds. Like, boys, if you are an infantry main and you're not using the freezing ring, if you're running 2 infantry marches out there, you're a fucking idiot. I'm calling you out now. This is the best tanking artifact in the entire game because no one can beat you. You can literally run in, watch yourself start losing troops, get in a positive trade, you hit the orange, you freezing barrier. And you will notice every single frost barrier you do, you have 40 plus people still on you. And you got to think, 40 times 10 seconds is a lot of time wasted, and a lot of people don't realize that. And the thing is, the more people are doing this, and you will notice the more and more alliances in Season of Strife are running freezing rings and using them in front lines because they understand infantry wins wars. And if your infantry is out there and they're basically wasting the DPS's time on targeting them, they're going to win the game. That's how it is. And this does it the best. I don't care what anyone says. This is one of the best artifacts in the entire game. The only downside about this, and I hope there's a dev watching this right now, and if you want to do me a favor and you want to do all of the community a favor, change this artifact to an overall one. Overall, Legion HP, Legion defense, damage taken -5%. All you need to do, and this would be one of the, honestly, everywhere, every free-to-play player will be wanting to use this because it's such a good artifact for what you need it to do, right? So definitely top tier, S tier. And then on the opposite side of the spectrum is the Spiritborn Torque. The Spiritborn Torque is the opposite. It is the best offensive choice you can have for infantry. And that's why I've got both of these in the S tier now, right? You're going to get that rage, get to that rage cycle even further. You get the amazing taunt, right? And you can taunt up to 5 seconds, guys, onto 5 targets. With that, you get a 30% defense bonus, 10% normal attack damage reduction, and you will have, as you'll know, the additional effect, no matter what. As long as you're an infantry player, you're going to have 10% more counterattack damage, which goes all the way up to 20%. So this is the best offensive option you can pick right now for infantry. I'm sorry, it just is, right? Moving on. Going back to the list so we can refresh ourselves for you guys. We'll talk about the 2 mage ones. So why I am putting Visage and a Mirage Orb in S tier. Well, Mirage Orb is no brainer, right? The Mirage Orb is the best DPS choice. Like, if you're a mage, main, this is just easy to know. This does the most single target damage, as you can kind of see in the thing. With an AoE nuke tied to it, it does an airborne effect, and all of that damage scales even harder whenever you gain a buff effect, which is crazy. And the crazy thing about this whole artifact, yes, currently it's a Bertrand and Toha buff, you know, effect, artifact. But this is a Legion gains buff effect, meaning through any hero skills in the future, again, mage mains, this is going to be one of the most used artifacts in the game. No matter what, in your 5 murder ball, even if Bertrand and Toha becomes absolutely dog shit, hypothetically, you're still going to use Mirage Orb. It's that good, honestly. So definitely one of the top 2. Visage of Sanctus is the same. It's the opposite, like I was saying, but the defensive version for mages. So why I love this is you're granting 3 legions, and the friendly, that includes yours and 2 nearby, basically, 3 boon shields, and this is a 900 shield for 10 seconds, which allows them to tank damage. Really, really powerful for that. But then on top of it, you get a payoff. You get a great payoff, right? You're able to get the stacks that include the damage dealt per stack. Like, boys, what a absolute beautiful artifact. And the cool thing about this artifact that a lot of players don't realize, you obviously use this with flying marchers, right? So you can use this with your Fear Craig, Fear Frhagar, Fear Atheus, Fear, I'm trying to think of the other one, Forendil. You can use it with all of those. It's perfectly fine, right? Because it's going to work. But what you can also do, and shout out to Tinsy, because I know Tinsy was the guy who coined this out in some of the stream chats, right? Magrat. He did Magrat Fear Celestials, right? So it's a ground-based unit, but because they're Celestials, they're still going to get the flying unit defense buff. So these Magrat Fear with the Visage of Sanctus got an insane amount of, merits. And that's all from the Legion attack and the defense, right? So really good effect. So good. Compared to the tier of Arbon, this is doing way better supportive defensive, work compared to it. So this is kind of why I've got it in the S tier. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully it makes sense. And then to finish off the video, guys, the 2 Archer artifacts. And I've been tossing and turning for a long time, trying to work out what are the best Archer artifacts. And these are the best 2, in my opinion. Rattle Spear and Heart of Kamiseh. No matter what, these 2 artifacts, you can put them on any 2 Archer Legions. It does no matter what, and they're going to perform. Even if you do not have a Kanara and Nico, putting a Rattle Spear on any March is amazing. It's going to allow you to obviously do a bunch of damage, but with defense brink heroes is where this is going to get really, really powerful, right? You get that defense penetration, ignore 10% on the enemy defense for 7 seconds, and then G3, G4, well, it's a G3, G4, G5 heroes, right? The future Archer commanders. I have got a sneaky suspicion there's going to be more defense penetration. And the thing is, again, the more effects that you're able to put on different marches that have defense penetration or scorch or CCing effects, and you've got an artifact that can go from that march to a future march, is what I'm looking at. And Rattle Spear does it no better, right? Even if you ignore the additional effects, guys, you're getting 62% attack, you're getting 3600 damage in a single hit, and a 20% march speed slow. And again, guys, this can all get increased. This goes up to a 20% penetration and 2,500 per hit. So you're doing 4,500 maximum damage. So I absolutely think this is a game changer, especially with me using it. I've been using Rattle Spear, and it's helped me absolutely shred the infantry. Just defense breaking them and doing that does help a ton. And then the final one, Heart of Kamiseh. I'm putting it in as S tier. I am. It's an old artifact, but I'm putting it as S tier. This is one of those artifacts, no matter what, is going to be in your 5 murder ball for archers. If you look at this artifact, you're going to have a 30 and 30% physical attack and normal attack damage bonus on your main legion and 2 surrounding legions, meaning all 3 archers are gaining over 60% extra stats, which is absolutely absurd. On top of this, you're getting 62% defense, and again, the damage taken and damage dealt bonuses. This is no laughing matter. It makes your archers super, super tanky, and a lot of players, honestly, doing so much better with a Heart of Kamiseh equipped on a Magzay than the Gilded Crossbow. It's just scary and how good this artifact truly is. So that is going to be my new updated artifact tier list, guys. I've got all the artifacts that I've been using this season there, and what we're going to do to finish off the video, because I know you guys will probably start typing it in the comments, is talk about the 2 newest artifacts in the game and where I would place them in here, right? But what I want to do is to showcase here one last time for you guys. This is, for me, the best artifacts in Call of Dragons from Season 1 going all the way to Season of Strife. If you unlock any of these artifacts, you'll notice you'll use it way more often for the utility, for the effect of that artifact, right? Now, let's talk about the 2 new artifacts, right? Wolf Howl Horn. So if I had an image of this, because I don't have a cleaned up image and I will sort one out in the future, this to me is a S tier artifact. Yes, this is the cavalry's first S tier artifact. It is absurd. This does so much AoE damage, it's ridiculous. It also does a tremble, which is stops people from moving, launching normal attacks, or rage skills, which is basically the same as stunning them down. I don't know why they've called it tremble, just name it a different thing. But on top of that tremble, you're going to get, as you can see, this bleed. So whenever the cavalry hero commander launches that rage skill, damage the target legion with a bleed. This is a 300 bleed effect, and it can trigger 3 seconds, and this is triggered once every 9 turns. So basically, every time this is off cooldown, you can go into combat, you're going to basically unyielding rush, hit them with your skill damage, hit them with the bleed, charge up the artifact, now hit them with the artifact damage, tremble them for 2 seconds, and get another cycle of damage out. It's absurd. This is an S tier artifact for cavalry, landslide. Deathless Vines. Everyone's probably been wondering, how good is this artifact? Because this is one that everyone's been talking about. It gives you infantry, defense, and HP. And the thing is, with this, it gives you a better version of the Grey Mars Warhammer effect. So what this is doing is a mobilization. So they cannot move, and you're getting shelter for 20%, right? So this can be affected once every 10 seconds, so you can't spam it. But the power of the artifact is if you have it equipped to like Garwood, Eliana, technically Atheist, right? Because he heals even in this, because she heals. Maybe the future generational 3 infantry heroes are going to heal too. So this is going to support them. But anytime you heal with this, you're going to basically, for over 600 points of healing, you're going to get a reduction on the cooldown, right? So you're going to help this get off sooner. So you're going to get, again, this massive AoE immobilization. The thing is, we don't know how big the range is of it, because I haven't personally played it, so I haven't tested the range. And the thing is, again, you are required a healing-based hero. The thing is, with infantry, healing isn't too bad, as you guys know. It's going to allow you to survive longer, but it will fill your hospitals a lot sooner. So is it something you really want? To me, the Deathless Vine is going to be an A tier artifact. You've heard right. I don't think it does anything better than the Goresh Skogul one, so I think Spiritborn Talk is better. I don't think it does anything better than the Forest Barrier, because I think the Forest Barrier for 10 seconds tanking is way more valuable than the Deathless Vines. However, I do think it does what the Grey Mars Warhammer does, technically better on a faster cooldown, right? Because you don't have to worry about it. 1 minute 30, heal up, you're going to get this down quicker and quicker and quicker, comparing it to the Grey Mars Warhammer. So if we're going to stick this onto the page, I'd actually keep it in the A tier, right? I'd honestly keep this in the A tier, but imagine this garrison effect here was that Deathless Vines. I'd have the Deathless Vines up here, right, on the top of the A tier. I think it is going to be the best A tier artifact, better than Grey Mars Warhammer. I just don't think it's going to be an S tier artifact just as of yet. It might change, right, with the new heroes, who knows, right? But as of now, I will class the new infantry artifact A tier and the new cavalry artifact as an S tier one. Simple as, right? And that's it. Brand new artifact tier list. This is all the new artifacts in the game, as well as just all the artifacts that honestly get used in open field. And if you don't see one of the artifacts here, it's probably because it doesn't get used. And if I've missed one out, I do apologize. Put it down in the comments down below. But if it's like an epic or, you know, rare style artifacts, I'm not really going to go into it, honestly. But these are the main ones. So with that said, smash a like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Until the next one, stay safe, stay sneaky. Peace out.